And I don't want to hold anybody up. Um, if everyone could introduce yourselves in the chat real quick and include your organization or agency name as well. Thank you.
And if there's more than one of you on the same line, just put all the folks that are attending together with that one location.
All right. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. Oh, sorry. Okay. And everyone can still see the presentation?
I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Good. I was moving the screen around so I could see it. All right. So we'll go ahead and get started. Some of the things that we're going to be covering today are some changes to services and DORS policy, some information about special circumstances and services, some updates and announcements, and then, of course, open discussion. So changes to services and DORS policy. The first big change is that we are introducing a new service. This is the PREATS benefits planning service. Um, and it's for students that are still in high school. For those that are not as familiar with our PREATS program, we offer special services for students age 16 to 22. Um, and we call this the PREATS program. And prior to this, we had offered general benefits consultation and some phase one services to these students, but it was kind of confusing to staff as to which service was most appropriate. And we were finding that just like some students weren't getting the information they needed, and then some students were getting a lot of information that they didn't really need. So that's why we wanted to just offer one service for pre-ETS students and kind of hone in on the things that they really need. So this service will include a meeting with the benefits planner, the consumer, and other supports as needed, as well as a report to follow the meeting. The meeting and the report will go over an overview of work incentives, health insurance options, and possible barriers to work, along with community resources to help. And that is really just an overview. And then specific discussion of student earned income exclusion and how to utilize that if the consumer receives SSI. And then if they receive Title II benefits, then you would discuss the trial work periods only. And that's again because we really want to just hone in on the work incentives that are really going to affect these students rather than going over all of the work incentives and they're not even going to encounter all of those work incentives for a little while. We also want to include discussion on how to report wages and encourage electronic reporting. And you will need to request the BPQI for this service just to one, make sure that Social Security is identifying them as a student. And in case there's any concerns with their BPQI. I did include a copy of our benefits planning desk reference in the handouts, and that has more in depth about the expectations for the report. But that's these are the kind of the general expectations for the report. Any questions about the service? Erica?
Mindy, your camera is acting really strange, and would you mind if I just turned off your video so it's not
Yeah,
as
you can. Yeah, you can definitely turn that off. My computer, unfortunately, has about had it, and the video is going.
there we go.
Um, Francesca,
Yes, good morning. Good morning, everyone. So I just have one question. I don't know if it's the right question. So the for the pre-ed benefits counseling, should the student already have a job or about to have a job, or it can be a um, like an information prior on getting a job.
it's going to most likely be information prior to getting a job. But one of the services that we do offer for our pre-ets is what we call a work-based learning experience. And this is usually like a 6-week job that they're kind of interning at, but they are paid for that position. So you would, if they're engaged, if they're going to be using that service, or going to be participating in that, then you would go over the income that they would earn from that. But again, because it's only 6 weeks, um, most likely they could just use the student earned income exclusion, and that's going to, you know, be all that they need to still receive their whole SSI check. Marilyn?
Oh, hold on. Oh, so this is just a quick question. So my organization already receives referrals for pre-eds. Will this be a separate, will benefits counseling be on a separate authorization?
Yeah, so this is it's a benefits counseling service for pre-eds. So even if you work with pre-eds in some other dimension, this would be specifically for benefits planning.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions regarding this?
Just to clarify, we're not doing anything with their job info, what they're interested in doing and how that's going to affect.
You
No,
would
you're-
still, yeah, you would still provide that information. So you don't have to have a scenario where their benefits suspend, but whatever their goal employment, you're still going to want to give that information as to how that's going to affect their benefits. But you don't have to go way in depth over that. Kind of just if they're SSI, then you would just include the information about the student earned income exclusion. And then if they're Title II, you would just cover trial work periods.
Okay.
Francesca?
Sorry, this will be my last question about
No,
the.
you're fine. This is why we're doing this. So don't feel bad about asking questions at all.
Okay, thank you. Because I know I did already pre-eds before, and one thing that I always put there is when they attend the summer work employment. Is that something that we can also include here?
Yeah, so the summer work employment is that work-based learning experience that I was just talking about. So if they are engaging that, we definitely want to include the income that they would be earning from that. If they aren't engaging in that service, then use their goal employment, just so we can give them some numbers.
Thank you so much.
Sure. Any other questions about this before we move on?
This is Sandy, and I am not very familiar with this program at all. But question I have, in the job placements where they are placed for 6 weeks at a time, the hands-on based learning, who actually pays that salary? Does DORS pay it, or does the employer pay it?
It's through an MOU. So I can't remember I don't think their paycheck says DORS. I think it's actually the American Job Centers that pay it. But there's still it's still like a 6-week internship kind of deal. Any other questions? Okay. And then if you do have questions later, feel free to reach out to me through phone or email, and I'll be happy to answer questions. The next change is general benefits consultation. We are going to be doing this service in-house now. The reason for that is mostly because the service was mostly being used by the pre-ETS consumers and those that are on our wait list. So now that we're offering the new pre-ETS service, the pre-ETS consumers won't need this service anymore, and we can just offer it to our wait list in-house. We were also finding that some of the referrals that were for phase one weren't really ready to seek employment, and they might have benefited more from having a general benefits consultation. And it was just kind of confusing to staff as well as to what service would be best. So if you have an existing open referral for general benefits consultation, please go ahead and complete that and bill for it as soon as possible. We're going to be making some changes in our database system. And once we make those changes, I'm not sure that we would be able to pay any open auth for general benefits consultation. So that's why I'm asking if you do have an open auth, go ahead and deliver that service and bill for it. If you receive any new referrals for general benefits consultation after today, please do not deliver services on the referral. Instead, send it back to the counselor and ask them to get in touch with me. Any questions regarding this?
Sarah did have a question in the chat about
Sure.
should we complete those without the BPQI or wait until we have those? I don't believe a BPQI was required for a general benefits consultation, if I'm correct.
I thought it was.
I don't. Yeah, you don't worry about getting the BPQI for the general benefits consultations. Just go ahead and complete that. And if you need to verify what type of benefits the consumer is receiving, reach out to the counselor and they can have us double check.
Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Any other questions? All right, we're also changing the timing of service delivery, specifically phase one, a little bit. We want the consumer to be actively looking for employment when they receive phase one. So we are now recommending to DORS counselors that they wait until after any like work readiness or career assessment or any like training services are completed until or are near completion to start phase one, just so the consumer has a more clear goal in mind and they're really ready to engage with looking for a job and the information is more relevant to them at that point. It also kind of helps you all out because it helps to cut down on any unnecessary follow-along services. I know sometimes when we start phase one, as soon as the case is opened, sometimes you're delivering that and then you're doing follow-along service for a while afterward until they're really ready to engage in job development services. So hopefully this will cut down on that as well. Any questions about that? Okay.
I just wanted to go back. That general benefits consultation did have BBQ as a requirement. Had to go back and look at the older version of our desk reference to make sure that that was correct. But yeah, in this specific situation, because of the timing and because of everything else that's going on federally, we wouldn't want to wait for those, and would rather make sure you do them and get get your reports in and get paid. And then if we have to go back and revise, we can do something like that. But yeah, definitely don't wait at this time for ABBQY to come in if it's delayed.
Again, that's only for the general benefits consultation.
Correct.
If you have a phase one, check with the consumer and check with the counselor before, providing without a BBQI. Travel time. Travel time should only be used if the consumer is specifically requesting in-person meetings. A lot of our consumers are comfortable with virtual services, so please offer virtual services if in-person isn't specifically requested. Some of it's easier for our consumers as well. Some of our consumers are not able to travel, so having virtual services is really beneficial for them. When you are meeting in person with the consumer, it is expected that the service would be completed with 2 in-person meetings. If you need more than 2 in-person meetings, you'll need to request additional travel hours before meeting with the consumer, and you'll need to provide justification when you request them. If you're working with a consumer on multiple issues that require in-person meetings, please try to schedule efficiently so that those issues can be taken care of all in the same meeting rather than different meetings. And if possible, if you have multiple consumers that are requesting in-person meetings, please try to schedule them on the same day or at the same place so we make the most efficient use of that travel time as well. Any questions on that? All right, and we're going to discuss some special circumstances. Okay, so special circumstances are meant to be used to resolve a specific issue, for example, like an overpayment or establishing a work incentive plan or meeting with Social Security. They're not meant to be an ongoing pot of hours. And they should not be used for follow-along support, like making phone calls or sending emails. Making phone calls and sending emails, especially with when coordinating with the consumer, really that's more part of phase 1 services. So we don't want to be using special circumstances for those types of services. Justification is always needed for special circumstances. So if you are requesting special circumstances, please email the DORS counselor and provide an explanation of what the benefits issue is and an estimate of the hours that are needed to resolve that issue. If you look in Appendix C of the desk reference, it has examples of a lot of benefits issues, and it also has an estimate of hours that would be needed to resolve that issue. And we got that data by asking you all as benefits vendors to contribute to the issues that you see the most and about how many hours it takes you all to resolve those issues. If the issue is not listed, try to match it up with one that is listed as best you can, and then go from there. Once the DORS counselor receives the email, they'll get approval for the services and send an off. Please do not deliver services until you receive that off and confirm that it is for the correct service and amount of time that you requested. And that really goes for all of our services. We've had some miscommunications lately where, and not just benefits planning providers, some of our other vendors have had some miscommunications lately too, of where they getting off, they assume it's for one service, and then when they actually look at it, it's for a different service. So always open up those auths, make sure that they're for the correct service and the right amount of hours before delivering that service. Communicating with Social Security. Because of the government shutdown and less Social Security staff overall, meetings with SSA are time consuming. So please try to resolve the issues without a meeting as much as possible. Many of the SSA forms can be completed and uploaded in the consumer's My Social Security account. So we want to try that first, especially during the shutdown. From everything that I have read and try to research about this, it looks like things that you are submitting through the consumer or customer portal, the My Social Security account portal, are at least getting into Social Security's data bank and then could be processed once the government shutdown is over. If you're dropping forms off at the local office or mailing them in or faxing them in, there's nothing that I've seen says that those are actually, nothing is happening with those until the government shutdown ends. They're just kind of sitting in a pile until this ends. So hopefully by going through the My Social Security online account, we at least get it into a database to be processed instead of just sitting in a pile. If you do have to schedule a meeting, please complete forms as much as possible before scheduling the meeting or calling. If you are going to call into the customer service line, always have the consumer on the line with you. I know that you all get consents signed, but Social Security really isn't able to, sometimes they're not able to view those consents. You can't email them to them, or, even if you do email them to them and show them you have a consent, they don't always take those for the conference calls. So rather than you waiting on hold for an hour, 2 hours, whatever, and then being like, oh, I can't give you any information because you don't have the consumer on the line, just have the consumer on the line with you. We also want to encourage independence with all of our beneficiaries. Please, keep in mind that at some point their DORS case will close. So we want to kind of show them how things can be handled rather than doing it for them. Because once their DORS case does close, if they're faced with an issue later on, they won't know how to solve it if you haven't really shown them where forms are or how forms can be submitted, things like that. Billing, when billing for special circumstances, submit your billing once the issue is resolved and the service is complete. Special circumstances should not be billed monthly, like some of our other services are. Instead, it's when that service is complete. In the billing, include an invoice for the hours that were used, provide a summary to show how many hours were used and what was completed, and provide copies of anything that was submitted to SSA. We're asking for a summary because more and more of our cases are now being audited, and we need something besides an invoice to show that a service was delivered. Any questions about special circumstances?
There was just a question in the chat about where to find examples, and Malini replied about the fact that it's in the desk reference. I will say that Mindy sent out the desk reference, a copy of that, the updated one. I'm going to see if I can attach it here in a second. That's not finalized, but it's working through our internal process to be finalized here, and then it'll be posted on the website as well. But we'll send out a reminder about the fact that you can see the special circumstances examples there in the desk reference.
Yeah, that's an appendix C. And like Eric said, the one I sent out yesterday isn't completely finalized, but there shouldn't be any major changes to it. When it is finalized, I'll send it out again and just update if there is any changes to it. Any other questions about special circumstances? And then, of course, with special circumstances, just like anything else, if you're not sure, definitely reach out to me and Eric, and we can give we can provide help on, like an estimate of hours or examples or justification or anything like that. Updates and reminders. First update is, of course, our desk reference. There's a couple of service changes in the desk reference. You'll see that it is updated now with the pre-ed service and the expectations, and then the general benefits counseling service has been updated to be in-house. There's an Appendix A, which is the timing of services. This is really more for DORS counselors to things that they're considering when they're deciding what service is best. But you guys can definitely read through that and see, how that decision is being made as well. And then special circumstances has examples of what it can be used for and estimates of hours that are needed. SSA updates. The website ssa.gov has been updated and it's more user friendly now. The BPQI handbook has also been updated, and several SSA forms have been updated, including the 821, 632, and 634. So if you had those forms downloaded previously, you may want to double check the website and make sure that you have the latest ones. Those forms specifically are also supposed to be a little easier to fill out now. So hopefully that is true. The preventing and managing overpayments fact sheet has also been updated. I took a look at this and it's actually a really good fact sheet about reporting wages. So I would encourage all of you to give that fact sheet out when you're doing phase 1 or phase 2 benefits counseling, just because it can kind of really hammer home that the consumer is responsible for reporting their wages, and that helps to prevent overpayments. And that kind of brings us to our next point, submitting wages during the shutdown. We should always be encouraging the consumers to use electronic platforms, but especially during the government shutdown. Again, from what we're being told and what I've been reading online is that if the consumers are submitting their wages through electronic platforms like their My Social Security account or the app, those are at least getting in SSA's systems. I don't know that they're being processed and the Social Security checks being adjusted as it's supposed to be happening, but at least they're getting into their system. If the consumer is faxing it in or mailing it to the local office, I don't know. I don't think that those are getting into any system. I think that they're just sitting there until the government shutdown ends. And by then, a backlog, I'm sure, will be created and overpayments are going to happen. So that's why we definitely want to be encouraging the consumers to use the electronic platforms as much as possible. We also Just to remind everyone, we also have a fact sheet about setting up my Social Security online account, which I can definitely send out again. That can be distributed to consumers. DORS counselors are also giving that out to consumers. And there's also some good videos on YouTube about how to create my Social Security account. So definitely encourage consumers to use that and set that up. SSA and EN collaboration. Social Security is offering a quarterly newsletter. You can sign up using the link in the PowerPoint. Social Security also offers employment network interest calls. The next one's scheduled for November 18th, and you can email the address on the PowerPoint to register. Francesca, did you have a question? Francesca, go ahead.
Just disregard. I'll just ask you maybe afterwards. It's
Okay, perfect.
okay. It's not for general. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Many of our vendors are also ENs. It can help you to increase your revenue by being able to serve individuals after the doors closure through ticket payments. And there's a couple different models that are discussed on the EN interest calls. Any questions about that? Okay. And then just a reminder about ABLE accounts. In January, the age of initial disability for ABLE accounts will be changing to 46 instead of 26. And this will allow a lot more of our consumers to take advantage of that account. So if you're working with a consumer that qualifies, please provide them with that information. Even if you're working with a consumer now that doesn't qualify now but will qualify in January, I would go ahead and provide them with that information because we're not really that far out from January. I also wanted to see if there is any interest in having ABLE do a training for you all as vendors as to like what's needed to set up an account or how to provide information or anything like that.
I'm seeing some yeses in the chat, so that's good. I don't know if
Okay.
anybody on the call was here. They did a training for actually for our staff and then for the vendors probably a year and a half ago at this point. I would say what we can do is we can take your feedback if you want to reach out to Mindy and I in terms of if there's certain questions that you have that you would like them to cover. We can certainly ask them if they'd be able to do that and then give them topics that are of pressing need for you all. When they did it in the past, they provided some general information on just explaining what the accounts are, why they're so valuable for consumers, but then they also did a bit more of a breakdown for folks that would actually be helping somebody apply. So they went into a little bit more of the nitty gritty of the application process. And so they could certainly do that again. So I will say if there's some specific questions that you all know you'll have, definitely bring them if we can do that. And then also maybe email Mindy and I, and we can kind of give them a little bit of time to prepare for any topics that may come up.
Francesca, did you have a,
Yep.
Go ahead. Francesca, did you have a question?
Yes, please. So I don't know about that previous training, if it's a training just for Maryland, because I heard that ABLE account is specifically for each state. So hopefully that training, if you will coordinate for us, it will be specifically for Maryland, correct?
It would be
Yeah.
Maryland ABLE. Yeah, there is a national ABLE training, folks, a national ABLE kind of consortium, but then they actually deferred to the Maryland ABLE folks to do the training the last time around. That's who we would want to ask for this training.
Okay. All right, and that is all that I really had to share and present. But the rest of this time is now open for any discussion or concerns or questions that you all have.
I just wanted to mention I put in the chat, if you all scroll back up, a copy of that desk reference again. The only change I made to it, actually, since Minnie, since you sent it out, is I did change the date at the bottom of each of the pages, so it says 10/25 because it still had the 7/24 because it's not a finalized form yet. But just so folks can tell the difference very quickly, if you download that new one, or the one off of Minnie's email, that's the newer one that we have. Again, it's not a finalized form. It's very close to being finalized. We're not going to have many changes. We will certainly send out the finalized form and then also post that finalized form on the website so you can access it there too. But that's where I would go now if you had any, thing to review, especially in terms of the tweaks that were made and discussed on today's call.
I have a general question. We're a DORS vendor, we're a CRP, and I was asking my DORS caseworker a while ago, how do we as the vendor cover our time when a consumer does not show up for an appointment? So there are times when we go out to the community to like take them on a job interview or something, and we've committed the time, we're already there, but the consumer doesn't show up. How do I cover my time?
So for benefits planning, we do have a no-show fee. You can only bill for that though if you are meeting the consumer in person and you've confirmed the meeting ahead of time, but now they don't show up. As with the CRP, those rules are different. So you would need to talk to Kate and Tamala about those concerns.
Okay. Yeah, Tamala referred me here, but okay, thank you.
Well, for benefits planning service specifically, then you could bill for the no-show. But for a CRP service, like a job development, or I don't handle those services. So you'll need to talk to Tamala and Kate.
Or Miss Drake. Okay, thank you.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions either on what we covered or just anything in general?
I'd just like to give a reminder, I guess, or a shout out to the folks who do email Mindy and I directly. If there ever is, a question and it's happening in between the times that we're meeting like this, please don't hesitate to ever reach out to us. If it's a billing question, if it's a service related question, and we get a lot of questions about whether or not does this constitute a special circumstance, does this seem like a reasonable, number of hours, especially if it's something that's not on the list of special circumstances. So please do know that we're very happy to hear from everybody in between these types of meetings. So you definitely have our contact information. Please certainly reach out to both of us. And I like to say both of us too, because that way, if one or the other of us is out on leave or something like that, somebody else can get back to you right away. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out. It's never a bad time, never a bad question. That's why we're here.
I also kind of want to piggyback on that a little bit and say that I really appreciate all of the hard work that you guys are providing for our consumers, especially during the government shutdown. I know that we cannot communicate really with Social Security right now, and we're having to wait for BPQIs and kind of put things on hold. So I do appreciate all that you guys are doing to still communicate with the consumers and try to reassure them while we're waiting for information from Social Security.
And then I guess last thing, if anybody joined during the call and you hadn't already put your name and your agency name in the chat, just go ahead and do that so we have a record of everybody's attendance. Okay. I don't have anything else, Mindy.
Okay. If you don't have any questions or any concerns, feel free to jump off. If you do, please don't hesitate to reach out to myself and Eric. We are also happy to schedule like one-on-one time if you feel that you need a little more help with anything, not just what we covered today.